Hey, FCC fans, you could show your pride in a whole new way with the new FCC Visa debit card from First Financial Bank. First Financial is the exclusive banking partner of FCC, and they are just as committed to this club as you and I are. Not only does the card look awesome, but it also gets you discounts on FCC tickets and merch. Find out how to get yours and to see the account terms and conditions at bankatfirst.com/FC Cincinnati. First Financial Bank, member FDIC. Bandwidth for Cincinnati Soccer Talk is provided by Cincy Shirts. Get your locally sourced FC Cincinnati MLS merch today by heading over to cincyshirts.com. Hey, what's happening, Cincinnati Soccer Talkers? Welcome back to the Cincy Shirt Studios. We're proud to be back live here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Pleased to be with you this week. Lots to discuss. FC Cincinnati advances in the 2019 U.S. Open Cup with a 2-1 win over our dreaded rivals down in Louisville. They move on this week to take on St. Louis FC. We're going to talk about that match. We're also going to discuss the U.S. women's national team and their thumping their two matches in the World Cup here this week. They've done really well so far. They've got a tough opponent coming up here in their final game in the group stage. And of course, the 2019 Gold Cup for the men kicks off tomorrow night, Tuesday night, if you're listening to this in podcast format. So we're going to touch on that as well. Of course, we're going to be monitoring the chats tonight, so make sure you get in touch with us. You can also tweet us at Cincy Soccer Talk on Twitter. No episode captain this week, but if you want to learn how you can wear an armband for an episode of CST, head on over to our website, cincinnati-soccertalk.com/support. Let's welcome in my cast of characters for this week. I'll start first with Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle. Boston, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing well, Subes. Happy to be back on the big boy show. It's been a little bit, but yeah, it's pretty fun.
Well said, Boston. Well said. Glad you're with us here this week. We're also pleased to have back the Wolfman, Bill Wolf. Bill, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Boston's been busy, though. All the Dutch Lions and March to Match Day. I mean, when's he have time for inline skating?
Bill, I was told you don't listen to the shows you're not on.
Oh, who says that?
I was hoping, at least.
Oh, man.
I told everybody to skip that week. I was like the one week, I was like, hey, if you're busy, you got anything going on, don't listen to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. It's pretty much the worst. You don't want to check it out.
Well, it's okay. Everybody should just now be prepared for an old man joke. So,
oh, man. Well, I guess, Boston, you kind of deserve that, right? I mean, all those years of you ragging on Bill, I mean, he had to bring it.
Yeah. That's what everybody keeps saying, like, hey, you're due. Brad, especially, because I always start the March to Match Day with some kind of a Brad line.
Yes, you do. Well, we're glad to have you both here this week. Speaking of glad, we're also really glad to have First Financial Bank on board with us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We can't thank them enough for their support. We're really excited about their partnership with us here throughout the rest of the season. So go check that out over at our website. A brand new, beautiful banner ad at the top of our website. Learn more how you can get the FCC Visa debit card. So go check that out over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Thanks to First Financial for their support of CST. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Open Cup win. FC Cincinnati wins 2-1 over Louisville City. And guess what, guys? Fernando Adi scored. Can you believe it? He scored. Now, let's be fair, gents. It was kind of a gift of a goal that probably shouldn't have happened if it weren't for Louisville's blunder. But credit to Adi for taking advantage of his opportunity in front of goal and putting it into the back of the net. Boston, when you saw him score, I mean, you had to feel a little bit of relief for the forward who's really struggled here for FC Cincinnati.
I tell you what, I'm glad Brad's not on tonight so we can be like, see, I told you, he just needed more time. Goodness gracious, about time though, for real. And yeah, it was a little bit of a mistake by Louisville's player, but to his credit, and I will give Adi this, he did go ahead and get aggressive and make that challenge and run up there. Whereas, I mean, how many times have we seen where he may not necessarily be that forward thinking? So I appreciate the effort put forth, and he created it all by himself and took the shot, and it was 100% Adi. There's there's not much else that was done. So credit Dottie.
Bill, your thoughts?
A little bit of the same. I mean, I would say that he's had a heck of a lot of opportunities. I mean, how many times has he bounced off the woodwork? How many times has he,
Hit it right at the keeper?
Had it right at the keeper, which he kind of did on this one too. I mean, he didn't have much of an angle, to be fair. It basically went under the keeper's leg. But at some point it was bound to go in. Not to say that, it's like an easy goal. I certainly couldn't have taken it, but it's great. And I hope it brings him this confidence that strikers need, because when strikers aren't scoring, they are the most miserable creatures on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I hope you're right. It's, what they need to see is the ball hitting the back of the net.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, that's just what the doctor ordered. Now, will he build on that in the next couple of matches? Because he's going to get a lot of run time with all the guys out for the Gold Cup. So he's going to get minutes here over these next few weeks, provided he stays healthy. Can he capitalize on that? That's the big question. Another question that we have about this team is the defense, right? I mean, this team continues to concede goals. And just 7 minutes after Audie's opener, FC Cincinnati concedes to make it 1-1. Bill, I mean, it wasn't that great of a goal from Louisville. Another mistake that could have been prevented by FC Cincinnati. And there you go, 1-1 against a team, your rival, who is basically playing up for this game. You know they're pumped. You let them back into the match, and to concede like that was incredibly disappointing, but not surprising.
Yeah. No, and they always say the most dangerous time is right after you score a goal, and all those words of wisdom from coaches. It's frustrating. I mean, obviously as a fan, there was that high and that elation, and hey, we did it. At least it lasted more than 30 seconds, because I guess we've done worse. But it's kind of the story we're hearing more and more, right? I mean, the back line is kind of decimated right now. I mean, Garza was a big part of that back line. He's been hurt and is hurt for some unknown period of time. Certainly, Powell came in. He was supposed to be our super stud on the right. That looked kind of not so good. And then lately he's been actually one of our, better players out there in some senses. He's been doing well for Jamaica as well. But he's out. Waston is our captain. He's out. So, I mean, we got to have this makeshift back line, and we have, Hagland and Lasso, who were both on the bench up to this point. I would say Duplan is our only real, Hoyt, I guess he was a starter. I don't know. Was he? I mean, if we had our full line in, would he be a starter? I don't think I guess he was center back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was kind of a weird situation with him. I like Hoyt, by the way, but I mean, for him to come in and take over center back for Hagland, I guess was a indication that Hagland's not been doing great. And then those are the guys that are holding up the back line. And, there's potential there, but they just make mistakes. I have my theories, but I'm rambling. So let's move on.
No, I mean, anytime you make changes like you have at the back line, with the coaching change, and now with the Gold Cup changes with everybody out, there's going to be some miscommunication. Players learning to play with one another, right? I mean, Hagland and Lasso, I don't believe they had played together. I could be wrong about that. I don't think they had played together until that match against Louisville, Boston. I wouldn't say they played particularly poorly. I don't even know.
New York City, I think.
Yeah, you might be right about that. I wouldn't say they played particularly poorly. The goal came from a really sloppy turnover there at the top of the 18. I think Ulloa either miscleared it or didn't follow his marker, or probably both. And the ball ends up in the back of the net. And by the way, we're not even talking about the fact that, FC Cincinnati made a switch at goalkeeper. TT getting the start in the Gold Cup as well. So a lot of changes. You can understand why a goal happened, but to concede like they did was, like I said, probably disappointing.
Yeah, I've been a critic of the back line, and where I get confused on this one is it's hard. I mean, it's hard to blame this entirely on the back line. Like you said, the clearance, it pops up, flies into the top of the box area, And then it's now scramble time, and anything can happen in scramble time. And Louisville, as we've known from our previous years, and then I think they kept 16 players from last year's roster. They're a scrappy team, and that's how they play. They usually play aggressive press and they play scrappy. They weren't able to do that press because we scored on them first, so they had to abandon that, and so they just went full on to that scrappy mode. And I'm not surprised at all they scored a goal. They're good at it. They usually score in a game. In fact, I was banking on them in my predictions scoring at least one. As long as we held them to one, I felt like we could win. And so giving up one goal versus Louisville, even though they're USL, without our back line, with a new keeper, I'm happy with it. I don't think you can be too upset with it.
But there were some stretches where Louisville looked threatening. They looked more the threatening team than FC Cincinnati did. I think towards the end of the match, and particularly once the match got into extra time, this is where FC Cincinnati had the advantage. By the way, this is the 5th Open Cup match that FC Cincinnati has played extra time in, believe it or not. That's a crazy number to think about that. Once that match got into extra time, Bill, you could tell that Louisville's legs went, because they had a match over the weekend. FC Cincinnati did not, so they were rested. Hadn't played since Thursday in New York. You could tell the legs were there, and that's why players like Mane coming on late, they were a threat. And it was a perfect ball from Ledesma there in the first extra time to put it past the Louisville keeper to make it 2-1. What a cross from Ledesma, and this is what we've seen him do time and time again. Now, granted, this is USL competition, but he did what he was supposed to do. Mane was there on the back post to put it in, and FCC moves on.
People are going to hate me, but I'll be honest. I know people love Ledesma. I'm certainly a fan of him as well. I felt like in the MLS, he's not been playing at the level he played in the USL. And I'm not saying in the sense of he's not as fast or as physical, etc. It's not that. It's more of what I think about for Manu, right, is that he is great at putting the ball where he wants to put it, right? Free kicks, crosses, looking up, taking that shot on goal. I haven't seen that from him this season. I mean, he hasn't had a ton of playing time, but when he's gotten out there, it seems like his crosses have been off, his corner kicks have been off. Just not the level of service that I expected from him. And this should have nothing to do with the MLS, right? I mean, he should be able to do that because the ball's dead at that point. This game, it was the Manu that we knew, right? I mean, all of a sudden, this goal specifically, right? I mean, he just put the ball exactly where it needed to be. And there was a shot he took that was just, that inches where you think it's going to happen and it didn't. But, with him, it's always about inches, right? He's always playing that line because, that's what gets the goal. And this is the kind of stuff we expected from him. It was great to see it back. I hope maybe it was a confidence issue. There's certainly a lot more for him to deal with in the MLS, probably the speed of play. So maybe that affects, his ability to focus and give some of these crosses. I've noticed he's been using his right foot more too. Yeah, he's been going down the right side and crossing with his right. And when we interviewed him 2 years ago, he literally told me he had no right foot. So I'm also wondering if maybe he's been kind of told, hey, you need to come, make it work on both feet here, because everybody knows you're going to turn and cut, right? Because you can't use your right. So maybe there's also been a lot of focus on the right foot as well. But it was neat. It was nice to see it back. Nice to see him taking those shots, making some things happen. The other thing I would comment on, you mentioned about the tired legs, and I agree with you. I think Louisville certainly, struggled a little bit at the end of the game. We were able to assert ourselves a little bit. That being true, I didn't see them collapsing, and it seemed like our guys were just falling apart.
Yeah.
I mean, and so on the one side where we had the rest and the time and should have been more fresh and more able to play, 120 minutes. I think at least 3 of our 4 subs, maybe all 4 of them, were literally because players couldn't run. I mean, they were done. There was nothing left. And Audie, he was limping at the end of the game. I mean, he was kind of like a hobble. I mean, he couldn't really do much of anything.
Except for sit on the ground.
Yeah.
Don't waste time.
Well, and Ledesma as well. He's a great showman, right? I mean, for sure there was a lot of, what we want to say, additional drama in his pain.
I'm glad you brought that up, Bill, because I wanted to mention that Ledesma had some choice words after the match. He says, "This is something special. The taste is special. They love to talk in the social media. Last year they talked too much. Now is the time to say, go back home. Go back home and don't talk too much." That's a quote from Emmanuel Ledesma after the match, Boston. You love hearing that from, especially in this rivalry game. Now, I'll be the first to admit I did not think FC Cincinnati was going to win this match. I didn't. The way they had been playing, and Louisville, knowing the rivalry, I was expecting the worst. I was pleasantly surprised that they won, but no, this is a kind of fun to see. I mean, it also helps too that
I really think Manu's been focusing on other areas. In fact, there was a point a couple games ago where I saw him turn, pull his foot back to take a shot that he would have took 100 out of 100 times in the USL, and then put his foot back down and turn back in and try to just pass the ball again. And part of me was like, what is he being told to change things? I think that's part of it, but it was awesome to see him get back into form. And we talked about this because of so much turnover on the FC Cincinnati side. We only had a handful of these guys, Lasso, Bone, Ledesma, but yes, I mean, I think what Ledesma's comments mean, this thing still matters to our players, not just our fans, which helps translate on the field. I really enjoyed his comments. I really am happy that he is mad at it, or you know what I mean, threw some shade out there.
Yeah, put some gasoline on the fire. You know, it spices things up on what has been a pretty dismal year, right? Trying to lighten things up, which is good. You kind of need that for the grind that is the 2019 season. So we're excited for him. We're excited that Monty scored the goal. And we're excited that we get to face another USL opponent here this week, as FC Cincinnati was drawn away to St. Louis in the next round of the Open Cup. And if you thought there were some familiar players on Louisville, there's even more familiarity on St. Louis FC. They feature a lot of former FCC guys, Matt Boehner, most notably, Russell Cicerone, Kyle Grieg, and Boston's favorite player of all time, Kadeem Dakers, all play for St. Louis FC. And they advanced, coincidentally enough, by knocking off the Chicago Fire. And if you look at the season that St. Louis is having right now, Bill, sitting ninth in the USL Championship table, knocking off an MLS team in their Open Cup, sounds very familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that's not doing great in the USL Championship, but at the same time, they're up for the big games, right? So they maybe are. They're certainly MLS hopefuls, as were we. They probably are truly enjoying the chance to test themselves against some MLS power, show that they can match up. It sounds extremely familiar. So, yeah, I would guess they're going to be all in and ready to go for this game. For fans who are going to travel, which I think is going to be very, very, very few, being that it's a Wednesday. St. Louis is doing this one up. They are open to anything. They have basically said we can bring drums, we can bring smoke, we can bring flags, we can bring banners. The only thing we can't bring is a tifo. But they're up for.
Can't you just reuse the one
match
from the Louisville match with the clear plastic that just said tifo on it?
Yeah, we're not allowed to have it, unfortunately, or we would.
No, it's torn to shreds.
Yeah, no, it was torn to shreds. So, I think somebody tried to use it as a poncho because of the rain, and then it, once they punched the hole through it, it kind of fell apart.
Whoever came up with that was brilliant. Well done. So yeah, Boston, you followed St. Louis quite a bit. Cicerone, former FCC guy from last year, who we were all very excited about, had a lot of upside. He's tied for the joint lead on their squad right now with 3 goals this season.
Cicerone has been a spark plug for them. That I think when they got Dakers, and when we got Dakers, and then they got Dakers, everybody was hoping he would be that spark plug. Don't get me wrong, he scored a goal in their last match, but Cicerone's the real treasure, I think, there, due to his youth, his background, and he's already been to FCC. I feel like he's developing at a quick pace, and I really like. And our fans love Cicerone, so that's going to be a hard one to cheer against. Obviously, we're FCC fans first, but I think all of us. There's no Luke Spencer for Louisville. We want that guy to fail. just cause. But it's not like that with a guy like Cicerone. We really wish him the best, and I hope he loses this one game and then tears it up in the USL. Kyle Grieg wasn't here for. I don't feel like that connection's as strong with him because he wasn't here as long.
But he was here during the Open Cup run, so he has some familiarity there as far as getting a deep into the Open Cup.
Yeah, Boehner, I think we like, right? I mean, we know. I mean, we've met his parents. They went on our Cincinnati Soccer Talk Pittsburgh bus trip. Amazing people. He's a Cincinnati kid. You can't cheer against Matt Boehner. And yeah, so this is a weird one for me. I'm personally attached to two of these four guys. The other two, I don't dislike either. You know, they're fine. So I don't wish St. Louis any ill in general, but I hope that they meet the same fate that they met on Saturday versus the Bethlehem Steel.
Yeah, I'm going to cheer against them. I got no problems. No, I mean, honestly, I mean, I love Matt Boehner. You know, like we said, we've met his parents. They're a great family. I hope they come over and visit with the fans after the game and say hi. You know, I'm planning on going to St. Louis, by the way.
Look at you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But you know, my thought is, you know, I hope they come over and visit. I'll shake their hand. I'd give them a hug. You know, I mean, I'm all in with these guys, except for the 90 minutes plus.
Sure.
And for that, you know, they're on the other side. They're wearing green. So no worries there. But you know, Cicerone, oh man, he's probably the one player from last year, if I had to really get down to it, that I feel like we missed out, that we didn't play him enough and we didn't keep him. His age, he's so young. He could have been on the reserve squad. I mean, he certainly is young age wise. He wouldn't have been a high salary player. There's so much upside to him. And here's the thing for me, the fans love Frankie Amaya right now, and he is tearing it up there on the pitch. And, you know, you might say he's young and he's inexperienced, and you could be right about all that, but he's such a hardworking player, and he loves to take on players one-on-one, right? I mean, he'll just go at the back line. Cicerone was the same kind of player, right? He was that guy that took on the back lines. He would dribble up to him. He'd you know, do a move. He'd get past him. We need more of that. We need some of these players that aren't afraid, that just want to, like, you know, stand 40 yards out and cross balls in and hope that Audie can head him in. I love that, and I think it's a shame that we've let a player like that go.
And obviously hindsight's 2020 there, Bill, and I agree with you 100%. Right? I think if we had known the type of year we were going to have, he's exactly the kind of guy you kind of wish was still on this roster. Right? Get him these. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, these garbage minutes, because this year is, you know, it's down the drain at the moment. But this is what you find out what you got. Right, at playing at a top level in Major League Soccer, see what the kid has. You're right; it would have been great to have him, especially considering how anemic we've been offensively. I mean, see what the kid can do. He creates stuff. He's dynamic, and who knows? Maybe he takes that chance, and you find a diamond in the rough there. I'm not saying he would have, but at this point, man, it really would have been nice to see if that could have happened. So I agree with you there, Bill. We're not going to have a March to Match Day this week as far as covering St. Louis, so we're going to kind of, I don't know, dive into that a little bit now as far as a tactical, because I know Boston's all big on the tactics. He sits in front of the chalkboard, he does the formations, he diagnoses a lot of stuff, folks. I mean,
all the stats.
He's on it. Oh yeah, for sure. One thing to note about St. Louis FC, they are coached by Anthony Pulis, and if that name rings a bell to any of you, he is formerly of Orlando City B, or a couple of years, FC Cincinnati seemed to struggle against that side, and mainly because Pulis' teams mainly sit back, they bunker back, they pack it in, and then they're going to counter and hit you on the break, Boston. And considering guys like Cicerone, Dakers with their speed and pace could pose a problem Wednesday night for FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think it's just important to realize that if you're FC Cincinnati, if you're, Coach DeMay, going into this match, realize this is their strategy. This is how they're going to play us. It's how they've played. I would definitely analyze that Fire game. The Fire took oh man, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but it had to have been close to 28 plus shots. Like they peppered the net, especially when they got down, and just boom, 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 boom. And to be fair, St. Louis's keeper stood on his head, but they just did exactly what FCC did in our game versus the Fire and the Crew. Just bunker down, hold on for dear life, and try to get those early goals. In this case, St. Louis was able to counter early and then hold Chicago off. So realize that's what's going to happen. Keep your backs back. They have to stay back. You know, I know we like getting the wing backs or the right back and left back forward. Yeah, DePlon, you need to stay home, buddy. Just stay home.
Yeah. Or if he goes forward, Hoyt has to stay back.
I mean, I don't really like. I just say play. We use the talent we have up top. Play down a man when you're going forward, and just have the insurance guys back. What's there to lose? You know, go into 0-0, and then you can push forward in extra time.
I mean, I do think it's a risk that we deal with a little bit on this team. I mean, right now our back four is our back four because we have no one else. I mean, literally. I mean, we have Hoyt, we have DePlon, we have Hagelin, we have Lasso. There is no other defenders. I mean, you can pull Stanko.
Yeah, you could maybe play Stanko there.
I mean, we saw him in the preseason doing that. We saw him maybe one game in the season or something. But yeah, I mean, he's a utility player who can fill in back there. But now you're looking at, okay, well, you probably don't want Hagelin or Lasso on the outside because their height gives them that advantage right in the middle. But at the flip side, then you put Hoyt and DePlon on the outside. And, you know, as good a player as both of them are, neither one of them are high speed. And then you put Kadeem Dakers and Cicerone against them, and on the counters, it's going to be interesting. So, I mean, I have a feeling whoever's playing the holding mid, they're going to have to be willing to come back and clean up behind the wings, or not the wings, the backs. Sorry. Yeah. So it'll be interesting, but it
is going to be an interesting match. And the last thing at this point, FC Cincinnati wants is for this match to get into extra time, because they have a match this weekend against the Galaxy. So, you know, they had the weekend off. So that match against Louisville, those extra 30 minutes, you know, there's a little bit more time to recover. Now, knowing you've got a home match against the Galaxy with guys not coming back, because you still are going to be missing a lot of guys on that back line, the last thing this team wants right now, Boston, is to go to extra time against St. Louis.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we should theoretically be able to beat them in regulation if you just go by the money, the talent, whatever you want to call it. I don't have as much of a problem because, in my opinion, this is all we got. I don't think we're beating LA Galaxy. I don't know. We still won't have our guys back from Gold Cup, correct?
Right.
Correct.
So just throw everything at St. Louis, take your L with the Galaxy, and if we're still in the Open Cup in the round of 8, I don't care that we're not the world's greatest team. We only have to win a couple more games, and if this season, I mean, let's talk theoretics. If we are in the finals or semifinals of the U.S. Open Cup,
we'll take it.
It paints a little bit of a rosy brush, you know, on the season that is awful. Right. But you can cover it up a little bit, which I would be totally fine with.
I think it's funny you say throw everything at LA and then, you know, throw everything at St. Louis and then let LA happen. It's like all we have is everything, right? I mean, we have 15 players. We couldn't even fill the bench.
Yeah,
right?
No, you're right. You're right.
For Louisville, we're going to have the same 15 players plus McCabe for LA, because at least he's not cup tied, right?
Possible Bertoni.
Well, and that's where things get interesting. Like, is Lamar healthy? Could he come back? And then what's going on with Bertoni and this break? I don't know that I've heard a specific date yet. I mean, I've heard he's gone, right? I mean, it makes sense. Right. The guy came right out of European soccer straight into U.S. soccer. He's literally been playing 12 months without a single break, nonstop. That's a lot on the body. It's a lot on the mind. And he negotiated at the beginning this break that he could take a little time off. It's not very well timed for us, considering the Gold Cup and all the injuries we're dealing with. But to be fair, nobody knew that going in, that we were going to be in this situation, and it makes sense for him to get a little time. I just don't know how long it lasts. I mean, if anybody knows, that'd be awesome, but
Right.
maybe he's back. Maybe he's back for LA. Maybe he's back for St. Louis. I literally don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Contractually agreed upon. I also think they were okay with this, knowing they signed 8 other defensive midfielders, Bill.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. We were complaining that we had too many of them, and now I'd take 3 more just to put somebody on the bench. To be fair, I actually, for what it's worth, right? We had TD in goal. We had Richie on the bench. I would have at least put Haig on the bench. I mean, he was never going to play, but at least sit him there, dress him. Why not? I mean,
what you probably could have done? You probably could have put Richie in like a field uniform with the actual kit and let him go play like right back. What? Why not? I bet Spencer would love that.
Yeah. For LA, why don't we try it?
Yeah, why not? Have him go mark Zlatan.
Exactly.
How is this? I'm only cool with that if he can shoot a PK. If Richie can shoot a PK, then fine. Well, we were watching a game the other day where the goalie came in and shot the PK, and he was in the first 5, and I was like, really? He must be really good at that. If you have the keeper taking a PK in the first 5.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think Neuer for Bayern Munich is one of their first 5 penalty kick. I could be wrong about that, but he's also a really good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, we don't know what's going to happen with St. Louis this week. It's exciting to know that they're already in the last 16. That's crazy to think that there's only 16 teams left in the Open Cup.
It feels shorter, right? Because of the exit or the 4th round entrance.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy that they've played one match and already in the final 16. I think the USSF needs to need to look into that, rethink that personally. But as far as schedule or fixture congestion goes, fortunately, we're not there just yet, sort of. I mean, maybe we are with the lack of numbers we have from a roster standpoint, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But that match is coming up this week. Yes, let's hope that Lama's back. He was dealing with some sort of leg injury, so we'll see what happens there. But we hope that is the case coming up here this week as FC Cincinnati takes them on in the next round of the Open Cup. All right, it's that time of the show where we give a big shout-out and thanks to our tremendous supporters, Kings Hammer and Tim Bronsel, Matt Adamchick, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Teresa Everidge, Matt Imholt, Matthew Long, Joe Coling, and Tara Mullins. Thank you so much for supporting us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. To learn more on how you can support the show, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. All right, it's time we talk a little women's soccer, right? Back-to-back episodes. Got some great feedback from a lot of ladies out there who listen to the show. They are excited that we covered the women last week, so we're going to do it again this week, and why not? After what they did against Thailand, winning 13-0, that was crazy. A record for number of goals scored in a World Cup match. They've also knocked off Chile 3-0 over the weekend. So they win their first 2 fixtures in the FIFA Women's World Cup here in the 2019 year. I've already clinched a spot in the next knockout stage of the tournament. Now the question is whether or not are they going to win the group, or are they going to finish in second, or potentially all they've got to do is win in the United States women. They are a solid group themselves, Bill. But, I mean, the way the women have started their World Cup, I mean, I don't know if they could have scripted it any better.
No, I mean, to have Thailand as their starting team, that's the team that's kind of getting beat up in their group, unfortunately for them. But it builds a lot of confidence going into the group. The other thing that's been nice is, the big games at the end, right? So as far as roster wise, Jill Ellis was able to put her best team out to just, go for it to get as many goals as possible, build up her goal differential for the first game. And then she has her solid team for the last game. And then the middle game, she rotated the heck out of her squad, right? I mean, we had 7 different starters. She had players come in. Every single player on the 23-man roster, except for the spare goalkeepers, has been capped in the group stage. That's phenomenal in 2 games.
Yeah.
Right. That's heavy rotation of a 23-man squad, right? Or 23-woman squad, 23-person squad. I don't know what the right thing is, but anyway. but it's brilliant, and they were still able to get a 3-0 victory against Chile, though there was a little bit of drama there. There's a couple interesting, like, should they have had that corner kick and stuff like that. But to be honest, if you watch the game, the right team won, whether it was 1-0 or 3-0. They got a penalty kick. They missed. They probably shouldn't have got it. It was kind of soft in my opinion, especially up 3-0 that late in the game.
And to be fair, too, Bill, I mean, the goalkeeper for Chile stood on her head. I mean, that game should have been a lot worse.
Yeah, she was phenomenal.
I wanted her for Cincinnati.
Yeah, she made like 6 saves. Just incredible kind of stuff. This is the stuff we talk about with Mitch Hildebrandt during Chicago, Tim Howard during World Cups where the U.S. Held in games they shouldn't have been able to hold into. Just she was a legend in that game, and more power to her. She did a great job, which is good. I mean, it shouldn't have been a 6-0 game. It was good that there was some challenge there, but the U.S. kind of dominated that game. There wasn't a lot of threats from Chile. Our back line really wasn't challenged much, and we had kind of our B squad in, which is crazy to think about. Carly Lloyd is the B squad, right? I mean,
how about that volley? I mean, that goal was fantastic.
Oh, phenomenal. I mean, what a way to open it up too. And there you go. There was another record, right? You mentioned records, right? So we had
13 goals.
13 goals. We had the 5 scored in a single match, and then by Morgan. And then, of course, Lloyd, she has now scored in 6 back-to-back World Cup games, which is a new record. So the women are tearing it up. I mean, it's just crazy how many whatever things they've broken at this point, records they've broken. I hope they do well. The one worry you have is are they challenged enough in this group stage? So we'll see what the game against Sweden's like. Sweden, I don't know how well they rotated or how much they rotated their squad. I didn't watch the game against Thailand. It was 5-1. They were 2-0 against Chile. So we've exceeded both of those. In theory, on paper, we're a better team. In theory, on FIFA rankings, we're a better team. So I would think we're going to get out of the group stage with 9 points and move on. So, which is a nice little boost of confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot was made though, Boston, over that initial opening match for the U.S. women, winning 13-0 over Thailand. It was 3-0 at halftime, and the U.S. women scored 10 second-half goals. And if you do the math, they scored a goal every 7 minutes in that match. What did you make of the 13-0 scoreline? Are you one of those guys who thought that it was overkill and that they shouldn't have run up the score like they did? Or would you prefer that they take the air out of the ball and just knock it around for 45 minutes in that second half?
I think that I didn't work my whole life to achieve something that only occurs every 4 years as the pinnacle of soccer, so I can't say anything about what they did. They're on the world stage. I'm not. These ladies have done everything they can possibly do in their lives to work to this moment. Party on, ladies. You can do whatever you want. None of us have the right to tell you anything.
Anybody who wants to complain about what they did can just shut the heck up. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this.
I'm not.
I feel for the Thai team. I feel bad for them. I watched that match, and you just, with every goal, you just felt, ugh. You just felt, oh man. I know why the American women did it. I was at a tournament recently, Bill, where I was a field marshal, and I was field marshaling the last match of the day, right? Yep. And it was Cincinnati United. They were playing a team from West Virginia, and they won 16-0. And they kept pulling girls off the field. And at the end of the game, the coaches were, what are you doing? Why are you even in this division? And you can only play what's in front of you, right? Yep. It wasn't Cup's fault that the tournament put them in this division. It wasn't their fault. They just, and the same thing for the American women. It wasn't their fault that they were drawn against Thailand in this first match, clearly overmatched. And what are you supposed to do? If are you telling them to go half speed? That's when injuries occur. That's when bad things happen. So hated it. I hated it for Thailand. I really do. I see why people are upset and think it was overkill, but go score, go celebrate. I mean, how often do you get this opportunity? So I'm with you guys.
Here's my thing. Right. With kids, I 100% understand it. Right. I mean, I've been on both sides where my son's team is being devastated. I've been on the side where my son's team is just trouncing some other team. And both games are not fun for different reasons. And honestly, in games where he would be winning a lot, you just stop clapping, right? It doesn't matter at this point. And for kids, it's really tough, right? I mean, there's so much of their psyche that gets put into this. These are professional athletes, right? So on that side, I think they need to deal with it. On the flip side, I think if the women start just passing the ball around and not trying, or if they're trying to work at half speed, or if they're like, okay, let's do 10 passes before we go to goal or whatever. I mean, whatever the things, it sounds silly. Exactly.
I've been that coach who has said that, Bill.
I know. But for kids, it makes sense because you're teaching them things, right? This is not something we need to teach the U.S. women's national team is how to pass at this point. I hope not. So it becomes insulting at that point. And then beyond that, let's be fair about this. A lot of these women who were in this game, this was their first cap. This was their first ever U.S. World Cup game, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously they played international friendlies and stuff, but this was it. This is the world stage, the biggest event of their life. They were selected one of 23 women in the United States pool to represent their country. They get out there, and 4 of the women who scored 5 of the goals, this was their first World Cup cap and their first goal for that. You're going to celebrate that. I don't care what the score is. And then beyond that, you've got records being broken. I mean, when they got 11 goals, they tied a record. When they got 12 goals, they broke a record. When Alex Morgan got 5 goals, she tied a record. And they knew this. They knew what these records were, and they were excited. You break a record, you don't go, oh, well, I feel bad for the other guy. I broke a record. I mean, you have to appreciate what you've done. Brutal, and in a group play situation where goal differential plays in, especially the first game, mm-hmm. right? Had them beat on goal differential because they only played Thailand 5-1, and we started throwing in players who hadn't even had a cap yet, right? We made subs at the end and kind of took the energy out of the game.
Was this the first one where they've expanded, or was it? Has it been?
No.
So it's been 24 whatever teams for a while. Okay, yeah. To me, something like this sends messages. It almost needs going into the World Cup. Maybe you need to put more teams in, put less teams. You know what I mean? Like, this is how they can gauge the tournament, make it better. Hopefully, ideally, in a perfect world. So I don't have a problem with this stuff. I mean, this is stuff that's going to happen,
who's a great writer, covers a lot of soccer here in the United States, made a great point on Twitter this week. Can you imagine Germany facing Fiji? Yep. We saw this a couple in the Confederations Cup, and they were just getting destroyed by these powerhouses and against Thailand. And yeah, but look, Sweden to win the group, even if that means maybe potentially playing France earlier on in the knockout stage, and they go take on France. You got to beat the best teams anyway, right? So, States men's national team kicks off their Gold Cup here. Got a big win. Mexico got a win. Costa Rica got a win again. Some injuries hitting the U.S. men's.
That was disappointing. I mean, obviously, a lot of people were actually hoping to see him play in Cincinnati when the U.S. men's national team was here, and then he wasn't available. He was coming in the day after, I believe, to join the team. So, we missed him by a day, so to speak. And then I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know if he showed up, and when they did the physical, they determined he wasn't fit, or if he, kind of phoned it in, or I don't know what happened. But essentially, he's got a leg injury and he's out of the tournament. So this is one of the big players that, we really, hope kind of is especially the future of the team, but we hope kind of carries us through this tournament. And we saw what happened without him, without Bradley, without Pulisic when they played Venezuela in the Cincinnati Nippert Stadium. It didn't go so well, and you pull enough of your powerhouses out, and we've got some talent, but we don't have the difference makers, so to speak. He's a difference maker at this point. So
for sure.
It's crushing to miss him, basically, I think.
He was one of those guys. He's very much like Bertone, right?
Yeah.
Except flipped. He played all the 2018 MLS season, got a very, very small break before he headed over to the Bundesliga, and then he started playing over there for Red Bull Leipzig. I believe that's the club. I think that's the club. And obviously got a lot of minutes there and hasn't had any time off. And especially if he's got a leg injury, that's the last thing you want, especially if you're Leipzig. You don't want him playing right now. So probably smart to sit him down and let him get some rest. But you're right. He is one of those guys we were counting on maybe playing in that sixth position because we saw that was a spot that was really vulnerable for the U.S. There against Venezuela. So he's going to be a big miss. The United States also sent home Dwayne Holmes. He appeared in the match in Cincinnati. Looks like he's got another leg injury. So they have replaced him with Jordi Mihailovic. So he'll be joining the U.S. men there Tuesday night in Minnesota as they take on Guyana in their first match of the 2019 Gold Cup. Boston, what are you expecting Tuesday night between these two squads? Do you think the U.S. are going to get off to a good start like their other CONCACAF foes have?
Well, what Berhalter's been saying that we haven't seen the full squad yet. We don't know exactly what he's doing. It's going to come together. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. This is it though. There's no more excuses, I guess. It's now game time, and so we'll see how the guys do. Don't get me wrong. I'm rooting the best. It's one of those things. It's like FC Cincinnati where I'm hoping for the best, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh no, please just don't embarrass us.
Well, I think, too, if you look at the results so far from the Gold Cup, Canada looks a lot better.
Yeah,
obviously, they've got Alphonso Davies, who played for Vancouver, made the move to Bayern Munich. He's a young, talented guy, so they look better. They also have Marc-Anthony Kaye from LAFC. So that team in Canada, watch out for them. They might do some damage here in this Gold Cup. We know what you got in Mexico. They're always going to be talented. But last night, watching Costa Rica, that was a lot of fun. And Alan Cruz scoring a brilliant goal, playing in a central midfield role, Bill. I mean, maybe that's where he should be for the Orange and Blue.
Yeah, strange. Who would ever thought that? It's crazy. I mean, guy plays there all the time. I mean, be the last place you'd want to play him when you get him on your roster, right? I mean, he's always been a box-to-box, central mid type of player, covers a lot of ground, can be creative, and can shoot from distance. Boy, can he shoot from distance. So, I would love to see that kind of stuff happening in Nippert Stadium. So, of course, then we'd have to find somebody to play on the wings, I guess.
And somebody to get him the ball.
Well, yeah. Waston could do it.
Right.
That'd be part of his new job. Well, a part of it, right? I like it. I mean, I think it's different. It's better than what we have going on with just trying to, spark something on our own side. So why not? Why not just try it once we get out of this Open Cup stuff, once we get back into the swing of things. And if we're still losing games, so we lose to LA, we lose the next one, Powell comes back. What do we have to lose? Just go ahead and try stuff. Here's my big thing. As the season gets later and later, if it becomes more clear that we're done, I guess there's still some Hail Mary chances, but if it becomes clear that we're done, I'm going to switch 100% on the play the youth, play your long-term contract guys you're going to keep. I heard somewhere that maybe Bertone was on more of a multi-year contract. So the guys that we have that are not going anywhere, let's go ahead and let's focus on that. When you get down to the nitty gritty, and once you get eliminated in playoffs, then you're building for next year. So that's where I'm at with it. Play Powell, stick him everywhere. I don't care.
Well, it's a lot of fun watching these FCC guys in the Gold Cup representing their countries. So we're excited for all those guys, as long as they're not playing the U.S., right? So we'll see what happens. U.S. kicks off Tuesday night. Hopefully they get off to a good start like the other opponents here in the Gold Cup. We've got the LA Galaxy, though, coming up this weekend. FC Cincinnati does there at Nippert Stadium, Boston. And so we got a fun March to Match Day in store for our listeners.
Zlatan. You think? I guess that's the big story. Will he come play on turf? I've seen it maybe 100 times on Twitter already. Everyone asking that question, but yeah, we will talk about that and more tomorrow on our March to Match Day podcast, which we're going to try to get out for you guys as soon as possible. I think we have Jared DuBois from the Slop Culture podcast. Worked with Jason Davis in the past, and I guess the present. So we're excited. We're excited for our guest. First time ever playing LA Galaxy. 32,500 probably fans, sold out Nippert Stadium. This is the big time right here.
Yeah, Jared DuBois. He is. If that name rings a bell to any of you who are fans of the Best Soccer Show, he was the co-host with Jason Davis. Jay Rodius, if you're familiar with him on the show, hilarious guy. Jason was like the. He played it straight, right? He was the host. Jay Rodius was the character. I mean, he was always the guy who would be obnoxious and funny. So we're excited to have him on the show. We're also excited to. We're also going to be welcoming in Derek Ciapala, one of our staff writers. He'll be making his debut on March to Match Day this week. So we're excited about that. Derek spent many years covering the LA Galaxy, so it'll be good to get his thoughts on this upcoming match between LA. I mean, who would have thought? I didn't think there was any chance. When the season and the schedule was announced, when LA was coming to town, I didn't think Zlatan was going to play on the turf. I really didn't. But we'll see. With everybody missing for the Gold Cup, and he seems to be hell-bent on breaking some MLS record. I don't know if he's anywhere close, but we'll see. But it would be exciting for sure. So we're excited.
Ooh, that's interesting, because I was thinking, like, why risk him playing against FC Cincinnati? I mean, not to be mean, but, we're bottom of the table and haven't been doing great, missing key defensive players. Why bring in a big guy and play? But if he's going for a record,
I don't know.
That's why you would want to play FC Cincinnati.
Right.
He wanted to play in the Open Cup. But I mean, Galaxy are in second, and they've got an LA in front of them. So it just comes down to how hard do they? I mean, they're 2 wins behind LAFC. They really have a lot of pride on the line with that derby. I mean, I know I'm coming up with excuses here for Zlatan to play, but he's also the highest paid player in Major League Soccer. We just got the salaries that popped out, and he is making $7+ million. He's the highest paid player. Do you make him earn all $7 million? I guess.
Right.
Is he expected to play every Major League Soccer game on a $7 million contract?
Here's the question.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Here's the real question, guys. It's, do LA want to guarantee the 3 points? We've talked about this in the past, right? In the USL season a year ago, we were like, no, you don't play your starters, because you never know in soccer. But Zlatan versus Forrest Lasso and Nick Hagglund. No offense, guys, but I like Zlatan's chances. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he's got some. Definitely got the credibility, right? And that's not saying anything against our guys. It's just he's getting up there in age, but he still has it. We've watched him drag LA Galaxy almost single-handedly all the way up to the 2 spot this year. And I think we see it as well with Wayne Rooney, really doing some great things out there with DC. These players still have a lot of gas in the tank, and they're finishing out their careers, but they're doing a great job and making a big show of it. So, yeah, it's a tough assignment, and it's going to be Lasso and Hagglund, and I don't envy those guys. But
Lasso's going to deckle smash them.
Yeah, there you go. But
that's great.
I mean, here's the thing. What a statement would that be, though, if you're Forrest Lasso? And, I mean, the Louisville guys walked away from that game. I read their post-match report. They walked away saying Forrest Lasso is the guy that ruined our day. And what if? Just what if? I mean, if we play a theoretical game, what if Forrest Lasso shuts down Zlatan and he goes home without a goal? I mean, just ego boost for Forrest all the way through the roof.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it can't happen, I'm just saying, Zlatan has scored, 500 professional goals across Europe and the United States. He's pretty good. There's a reason why he's the highest paid player in Major League Soccer. So make sure you catch March to Match Day. We'll have that out later this week, previewing the LA Galaxy. Boston does a great job hosting that each and every week. We did not have a match, MLS match over the weekend, Bill, so we don't really have an Omni Printing and Promotions Growler Cup update, do we? Other than, who's still in the lead.
Well, we don't have an update in the sense that nothing's changed since the weekend, but because I was a slacker last time, I didn't really have the results. I kind of gave you some vague stuff, so I can get a little more specific on this one. Basically, nobody got it right, which I predicted. I mean, I didn't think anybody would think 5-2. Amazingly, I was correct. Nobody did predict a 5-2 score line. So no one got 6 points. Crazy enough, I'd actually predicted nobody would get 5 points either. And Boston pointed out to me that I was wrong. Boston, you predicted a 3-2 score line as a loss.
Yes.
I could not believe anybody would predict that we would lose and get 2 goals. Not that
we didn't score them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they still count. But hey, here's the crazy thing. Chima John predicted the same thing.
No way.
2 of you got 5 points.
Yeah, listen to March to Match Day. That's what happened right there. It went with the March to Match Day pick. Guaranteed.
Oh, there we go. It's a little cheating. Okay. But anyway, in the end, a lot of people got 4 points because nobody thought we were going to beat New York. There are those people who will always vote for FCC positive. So there's a handful of zeros out there or whatever's. But yeah, a lot of people got 4. Not a lot of movement in the rankings because of that. Nick, yes, you are still on the top. I actually do not, if anybody looks at the Growler Cup rankings, I do not put people in order. I just tell it to sort. So the fact that you're on the top is purely coincidence.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going for a raise or anything like that, just to be clear. But it's a 3-way tie for first. So it's you, Alex Naughton, and Mark Neuenschwander, all with 29 points. You actually have 4 people right behind you with 28 points. So the top 7 people are all 1 point separated. I'll read them out just to be nice. Sarah Spriggs, Jamie Lay, and then 2 of our own, Brian Weigel and Ken Hooker. So Matt Adamczyk has 27. So he's in sort of a pseudo third. But that's 2 point separation of the top 8 people. So it's pretty tight up there. So everybody who is playing, it would be 1 game, right? And you potentially could pass the leader, pass good old Nick here.
Yeah, we've got 2 rounds left in this second round. So I believe we've got 7. Yeah. So this will be 8 against the Galaxy. So how did you say Mark's last name again?
I go full up German on it because I don't know how else to pronounce it. So I go Neuenschwander.
Wow.
But
I'm impressed. If that's how it's pronounced, Mark, please tell us, because I know I say it at least once a month on the show for being a supporter. So please let us know if Bill is right. That's Neuenschwander.
The SCHW is Schwan, or it's like I don't know, SV kind of Schwan. It's a German thing.
Oh, so. Of course, Suberling, German.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, means cleanly in German. You would not know based on what you see behind the camera.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a lot of fun. It's not too late to get involved in the Growler Cup, believe it or not. The scores are going to reset here in a couple of matches. So get on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support and donate at the $5 a month level, and you can take part in this year's Growler Cup. And our thanks to Omni Printing and Promotions for their sponsorship this year for that fun little tournament we do each and every season. Of course, we've got a big event coming up here on August 24th, ladies and gentlemen. It's the 4th annual Cincinnati Soccer Talk Foot Golf Classic presented by, I'm drawing a blank. Is it Joseph? No, it's not Joseph. Yeah, it is. Anyway, we're raising money for sports games for kids. So make sure you head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/footgolf. $180 right now. Get your foursome into the event. If you can't find a group of 4 and you want to participate, $45 is the entry fee to be a single golfer. So make sure you head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/footgolf to get involved. Yes, I thought it was Joseph. Thank you. The Joseph Automotive Group supporting this fine event. When we raise money for sports games, for details, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/footgolf. Tune in. I believe now we're on Spotify, and now we're also on, believe it or not, Pandora. Did you know that was still a thing, gents? It is. And you can find Cincinnati Soccer Talk
I
there
didn't
on
know they had
Pandora as well.
podcasts.
They do.
I knew they had radio.
They do now. Yep. It's a brand new thing. So you can find the show over there if you're a Pandora user. Basically anywhere you can find podcasts. Get subscribed so you don't miss the Monday show as well as March to Match Day. And of course, coming up after the show, we're going to have CST Extra Time. I believe we got a couple of questions this week. If not, we'll just ramble on and have some fun. Final thoughts as we get out of here from the Wolfman, Bill Wolf. Bill, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Always fun, always great. Lots of enjoyment with all this soccer going on. I think there was one week where I checked it and I actually did something related to soccer every single day for a week. It was crazy. One day was the podcast. I count that. But yeah, the U.S. women national team, the U.S. men's national team, the Open definitely wearing me out a little bit, but I'm still enjoying it. Like I said, looks like I'm heading to St. Louis. Some friends have basically offered to drive and coaxed me into going.
Nice.
So it's going to be a long day, but it should be a lot of fun. I think they just want a drummer and, they're paying for gas. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not hard to convince. So, I'm an idiot, but no, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. There'll probably be like 9 of us there, but we'll try to make as much noise as possible. Looking forward to the Gold Cup getting started and the women's national team getting out of their group. I think both teams are going to do well in group stage. It's just a question of how far they go beyond that. So.
Good stuff, Bill, as always. Appreciate it. Final thoughts from Mr. Inline Skates himself. I butchered it. I said skelf when I meant to say self. Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle. Boston?
If you want to check out my amazing skating, I will be up in Blue Ash at the park tomorrow. That is 100% real, but don't come see me. That'd be bad. This is an exciting time for soccer, honestly. Gold Cup, Women's World Cup, FC Cincinnati. Locally, the Cincinnati Sirens are playing. Cincinnati Dutch Lions are playing. If you live a little bit north, you've got the Dayton Dutch Lions. So we've got fans going over to watch Indy during FCC's off weeks and to check out Patty Barrett and those guys. And I mean, how crazy and awesome is it to be here? And so just take it all in. If you want to watch something, you can. Now's the perfect time. You can watch anything you want. A little bit of an update. Cincinnati Dutch Lions went down to West Virginia. They were tied, I think, 0-0. And then Lightning kind of halted the game, but they were past the whatever minute you got to be. So it's an unfortunate draw because that's a team that they've beat twice already. So definitely a little bit of a point gap. They've got to make up some serious points now if they want to get in the Open Cup next year, which is I think my biggest goal for them. they want to go to the playoffs and everything, but I'm like, get in the Open Cup.
That reminds me, a couple years ago, I was playing in a league game against a team we had beaten 8 or 9-0, and we got to the official match point in another game against them, and they were winning 1-0. And as soon as he saw Lightning, right after a goal, they scored their goal. I saw Lightning. It's real convenient. So is that what happened there in West Virginia?
I don't know. I wasn't there, but I was following it, and so
okay.
To be fair, it was pretty late in the match. It was like 85th minute or so.
Yeah.
So they probably only had like 7-8 more minutes to go. But I would have loved to see them play it out because that is a team they can beat. So sure. You never know.
Good stuff, Boston, as always. Looking forward to catching up with you this week on March to Match Day.
Oh, yeah. And tune in. It's going to be a good one.
My final thoughts this week, as we bring it down a little somber notes. One of the members of the brigade this week, one of the founding members of the brigade, Kyle Kuznov-Danin, unfortunately passed away this week. Just unfortunate news. You don't want to ever hear news like this from a fellow FC Cincinnati supporter. As I mentioned, he was a founding member of the brigade. There's going to be something done during the match this week. Looks like it's going to be in the 67th minute. We'll have obviously all the details regarding that on our social media. So if you're a supporter, make sure you check out that. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with Kyle's family. Just an unfortunate thing. You never want to hear anything like this. And he will certainly be missed. Again, a lot of pride. Enjoyed FC Cincinnati. And sad to hear that news just before the show tonight. So Kyle and everybody in his family, we're certainly thinking about you this week here on the show. And that's going to do it from the Cincy Shirt Studios. My thanks to Boston Brazil and Bill Wolf. I'm Subes, reminding you to watch your tackles, and we will see you all next week. Hey, we're back on CST Extra Time. This is where we let loose. We just kind of relax, answer your questions. I don't know if we got any this week. I'll have to dig it up here on Twitter. Make sure you send them in using the hashtag CST Extra Time.
There's a few. I don't think they have hashtags, but
yeah. If you don't hashtag it, I can't answer it. I can't ask it. I mean, that's just how it goes.
I didn't even know if we were coming back. You had a long pause there.
No, we don't have any questions. See what happens when we lose our intern.
What about the rumor one? Have we addressed that one?
The what?
There are some responses on Twitter if you just go to the replies.
Yeah.
They didn't use the hashtag, but they didn't follow directions.
I know.
I mean, Matt's a supporter. Matt, you should know better by now.
You're so strict with the hashtag. Oh, no. I remember one time I replied and you were like, Boston, we're not taking your question. You didn't use the hashtag.
Let me find some here. In the meantime, what's this rumor, Boston?
No. So Andrew, at Andrew Just Andrew or something like that.
Whoops.
At Sleepless and Cincy, people have been spreading player signing rumors like crazy. Are any of them true, or do any of them have substance to them? When could we see some player additions made?
Yes, and the summer transfer window.
So one thing that popped up, and holy moly, like there's been 2 guys on Reddit that have just like, boom, 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 here's 10 guys that we looked at, and here's another 3 guys, and I think there's definitely some truth with one of the coaching guys we looked at, with a player we nearly almost got, but you got to be careful. I think what happens is a lot of people that have friends that work in the club or friends that work in a Major League Soccer, or however they're getting these, they're just reporting stuff usually after it's all said and done. I mean, I've noticed that, especially with the coach today. Immediately after it got put out there that he interviewed, it was, he took this other job. And I think what happens in a lot of those cases, we've experienced this too, is somebody gets talkative because they know it's safe now. Like, I'm going to go tell Boston about this because it's not going to happen anymore. And I may not take that away and may say, okay, here's what I took away from it. And that's why here at CST, we always have to have 2. You guys are pretty strict on me when I come flying in with a new rumor, and then you won't let me publish it. So you'll notice CST stayed out of a lot of this lately, and that's just because there's nothing solid yet that we can give you, and a lot of it is falling through now, and that's just because it wasn't solid to begin with.
Right. I do have to apologize to Matt Imholt. Believe it or not, his tweet actually has the hashtag in there, so I don't know why it's not showing up in my tweet deck. I blame Twitter, Matt. His question is, if you had to choose between winning versus St. Louis Wednesday and advancing in the Open Cup, or winning Saturday in front of a sellout crowd at Nippert against Zlatan, which would you choose? Wow. I would say Open Cup. That's just my take.
Oh, yeah.
I think the fact that with that win, you're in the final 8.
So final 8 versus beating Zlatan in front of 32.
Getting 3 points in league play, which could prove pivotal if they turn it around.
It's not the 3 points I care about. It's the show, though. That's what makes it tempting. It's the we beat Zlatan in a full sold out stadium. How many of those people are coming there that haven't been to a game yet? I mean, out of all the FCC games, I would say most of our fans are returning fans. Most of them, there's not a ton of new people at this point. This game has new people.
Yeah. So here's my take. I love the Open Cup. And my initial reaction was the exact same as yours, which was Open Cup. Boom. If you would just if it had been a rapid fire question, I would have said Open Cup. The Open Cup really turned a fairly poor season for us into a really good season, right? Because we made that deep run into the Open Cup. And there's this gut feeling that we could do this again, right? Even though we're having a bad season, we could make this run in the Open Cup. Here's what I think I figured out. No one cares about the Open Cup. And when I say no one, of course, I'm exaggerating the no one. But Cincinnati doesn't care about the Open Cup, right? I mean, we don't draw for the NPSL teams. We don't draw for the USL teams. We didn't even when we were in the USL, right? When we played Louisville, we were drawing, if we're lucky, 6,000 tickets, into that game. What people liked, what got people excited about that game was because we were making an MLS bid and we were playing MLS teams. That's what excited people. It was the Goliath, the David and Goliath story, right? We're now Goliath and people just aren't as interested. So I think Boston's right. I think at some level, playing LA in front of 30,000 people, of which we're going to have some casual fans out there, is an opportunity to do something exciting. So I think in hindsight, thinking about it more, if I was given the choice, I'd say let's beat Zlatan. Let's box him out, prevent him from scoring, make him look silly, and let's win that game.
June 17th, 10:14 p.m. Bill Wolf said Boston was right. I've got it written down.
Last time.
I hear you. Last time. I hear you, gentlemen. But the last time I checked, Drift Birding has one goal, right?
Trophies.
And a win over LA is not going to get you any closer to that. Personally, I don't believe that.
That was not the question.
I know. So for me, I would much rather them beat St. Louis and advance in the Open Cup because that means they're one step closer to winning a trophy. So that's just my personal take.
Me personally, I agree with you. I love the Open Cup. That's why I'm going to St. Louis.
Yeah, exactly. Good question, Matt. Thank you very much for that. Anything else before we get out of here? Crickets? No, we're good.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered this one. We've beat this episode to death.
Yeah.
Boston's right, and he likes to skate.
And that's a good way to end it. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for downloading. Thank you so much for subscribing. And until next week, we'll see y'all later.